December was an amazing month for me because I was able to watch a lot of new movies, as well as getting to know some film movements such as La Nouvelle Vague, the French New Wave, or Italian neorealism. Since I had a week of vacation in December, I decided to make two parts out of this monthly movie review video because, yeah, otherwise it would have been too long because I did watch a lot of movies. So let's get into it. To start off the month, I was able to introduce my best friend to one of my all-time favorite movies, Goodfellas. I find the mafia and organized crime a very interesting topic, and this movie is just so well written. Of course, I need to mention the amazing performances by Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, and Joe Pesci. Yeah, without them, the movie just wouldn't be as great. There are so many iconic scenes in this movie, and I feel these are some of the reasons why it belongs to my all-time favorites. Then I got to rewatch Knives Out, and although I already have seen the movie and know how it ends, I was still able to really enjoy it because I was able to pick up on things that I missed the first time watching it. For anyone interested in murder mysteries, I highly recommend to check this out. It's a whodunit, but with a lot of twists and turns that you just wouldn't suspect. And that makes it really feel like you are there with the characters trying to solve what exactly happened on the night of the murder. Two of the best actors, Al Pacino and Johnny Depp, both played in Donnie Brasco. Johnny Depp plays an undercover FBI agent trying to infiltrate the mob, which Al Pacino is a member of. And it's based on a true story, and it shows how the two of them really became close friends. Sadly, I kind of fell asleep towards the end of the movie, but yeah, I must say I really like this movie, at least the parts that I was awake for. David Fincher's long-awaited movie Mank was finally released on Netflix. This was his first feature film in over 6 years since Gone Girl, and I was honestly a bit let down by it. You see, I find David Fincher is one of the best directors out there, and I really like his style of filmmaking. Compared to some of his other masterpieces such as Fight Club, Seven, or Zodiac, it was definitely just a different type of movie. This movie tells the story of screenwriter Herman Mankiewicz, who famously wrote Citizen Kane, and because it plays during the late 30s, there was a lot of dialogue about politics and other things going on during that time. I think that if I knew more about what was going on during those times in Hollywood and more about the conflict between Mankiewicz and Orson Welles, who wrote or co-wrote it, directed and played in Citizen Kane, I definitely would have liked the movie more. Nevertheless, I find that the movie was shot beautifully in black and white, and there were some great performances in there, and also some really nice references to Citizen Kane. Next, I watched Climax, and what a mind-f***ing experience that was. It's a French film from 2018 by director Gaspard Noé, who is especially known for having very colorful and absurd movies. I love how this movie was broken into two parts. It starts out with these dancers rehearsing and then after celebrating, and as soon as they start drinking sangria, we move over to them having conversations, usually just 2 or 3 people just talking about the other dancers or what they have planned for the night and so on. Once the movie reaches the midpoint, which you will definitely realize when that is, all hell starts to break loose because someone put something into the sangria, which basically everyone was drinking. So after that, you see how everyone is just reacting differently to it and how things just start to escalate. And what I really love about the second part of the movie is that there are so little cuts in between there. So you're really just moving along with the characters, moving through the hallways. And yeah, the director does not give you a chance to look away during some of these absurd moments that are happening. As much as I would love to recommend this movie to as many people as possible, I'm aware that it is very special and very intense. So yeah, if you are into some weird movies and some intense experiences like this, then I highly recommend to check it out, but be prepared. The first and probably the best introduction I could have gotten to Italian neorealism was the movie Ladri di Biciclette, or also known as Bicycle Thieves. It plays in Italy shortly after World War II has ended, and you see the many people that are suffering there due to not finding jobs because the economy is just so bad at the moment. A father named Antonio one day gets an offer for a job where the only requirement is to own a bicycle. So on the first day of the job, as he's in Rome hanging up posters, he has his bicycle parked to the side and someone steals it. So the next day, Antonio and his son go out and try to find the bicycle. And that's basically the entire plot of the movie. I find this movie so well done, and we are left there feeling the same emotions as the father and the son in the movie. Italian neorealism marks an era in film history where filmmakers would use non-famous actors, really just amateurs, and they'd stop using big studio sets to film. And just like this film, Italian neorealism often tells just basic failures and successes from real life. And yeah, I think that makes it really fun to watch, and it also makes it feel very personal. With my latest movie purchases, I bought Jojo Rabbit, written and directed by Taika Waititi. It's about a young Nazi boy during World War II, and his imaginary friend is Adolf Hitler, which is played by Taika Waititi himself. Since it's a film by him, you know that there will be a lot of hilarious moments in there, and it also shows just how ridiculous and terrible these people were. But this movie also had some serious moments in there, and I think it did a great job of handling both. This movie also won an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay, and yeah, I had a great time watching this film. Next, I watched 400 coups, or The 400 Blows, which is regarded by many as one of the best films from the French New Wave. The so-called La Nouvelle Vague was the most revolutionary movement in cinema history. Former film critics such as François Truffaut, who directed this film, they wanted a new and more creative cinema, and so they really encouraged and created new styles and techniques of filmmaking. The 400 Blows tells the story of a 13-year-old boy who has many difficulties in life, and this movie does such a great job of showing how hard it actually was being a kid. You had so many expectations and just different pressures from like either your family, your friends, school, your own personal dreams and ambitions. And yeah, and the movie does a really great job of showing all that. I've heard a lot about the Before trilogy and how it's a very beautiful and realistic depiction of what a relationship is and the many stages one goes through. So we started watching the first installment, Before Sunrise. It plays in summer of 1994 in a train where the two characters, Jesse and Celine, meet each other and start talking to one another. After getting along really well with each other, but headed towards different destinations, they decide to get out in Vienna and spend one night there together. All three films are full of dialogue, and we follow them as they're talking to each other, walking through the city, and yeah, just having a beautiful time with each other. Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy have such an amazing chemistry together, and it's really just so much fun watching them on screen. Whenever y'all decide to watch this movie, be sure that you have all three parts ready, because once I finish the first part, I immediately want to watch Before Sunset in order to find out how their relationship continues. So the next day we watched the second part, and again, immediately after finishing it, I wanted to watch the next part of the film trilogy because I just want to know how the story continues. The third installment, Before Midnight, then plays in Greece. I really can't tell y'all what exactly happens in the second and third part because it would just give too much away, but believe me when I say that this trilogy is so worth watching. And what I also really like about this trilogy is between each movies, you have a time jump of 9 years. I must say though that watching this trilogy while the pandemic is still going on kind of broke my heart. These films have inspired so many people to just go out into the world, getting to know new people while traveling and falling in love. And yeah, all that is just so hard to do right now. I can't wait for once things get back to normal and then to hop on a train or a plane and go on to my own adventure. In November, I watched the Japanese movie Seven Samurai and the Western that it inspired, The Magnificent Seven. And this month, I then watched the 2016 version of The Magnificent Seven. Although it had a lot of similarities to the 1960s version of the film, I just felt like so much was missing, and yeah, I didn't like this movie that much. In this film, I didn't really care much for the villagers or the seven gunslingers, and yeah, I think that's why I just didn't feel the same emotions like they did. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend to watch this movie, just stick to the originals. Ever since I read this book by Sidney Lumet about filmmaking, I was interested in watching Dog Day Afternoon. In the book, Sidney Lumet talks a lot about the movie and how he directed Al Pacino in it. It's based on an attempted bank robbery in 1972 during summer. But yeah, a lot went wrong during the bank robbery, and that kind of caused it to be a hostage situation where a lot of negotiating was necessary. So those are the first 13 movies that I watched in December, and now I'd like to give y'all 2 recommendations. First off, I'd recommend to watch Bicycle Thieves, the Italian neorealism movie. And my second recommendation is the entire Before trilogy. It will be useless to just recommend Before Sunrise because after finishing it, just like me, you'll get the urge to finish the next 2 movies as well. All the hard work that they put into writing the screenplay and rehearsing the many conversations that they'll have really paid off because I was not able to take my eyes away from the screen. And yeah, I was so curious to find out how the trilogy progresses. In one of the films, Julie Delpy's character Céline says the following: "I guess when you are young, you believe that you will meet many people with whom you will connect with. But later in life, you realize it only happens a few times." She's talking about people, but I find this trilogy to be one of those rare connections that you'll get in life. Next week, I will be sharing with y'all the other movies that I watched in December, so I'll see y'all then.